Oh, we got a good crowd. Lots of new faces, I think. Yeah, that's
This is the
great.
Priestley pack. I was not kidding.
Yeah.
Hey. Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah, thank you. So nice to have all of you here. I think we've got a few more people. This is the bit where I just furiously click admit all.
I'm looking at Rhiannon's
I think
lunch.
Sarah promised some cocktails or drinks for
Yeah.
attendees. So
Oh, Rhiannon
Sarah
brought
about that.
cake, and what type of cake are we working with over there, Rhiannon?
This is a cinnamon knot.
A cinnamon? Never heard of a cinnamon knot
Nice.
before.
Delicious.
That sounds very. It sounds like it has more than one skill that I don't possess to make that, baking and knot tying. That's impressive. So yeah, so hello everyone. Welcome to this session. Yeah, so my name's Tim, and over here somewhere you should be able to see Mike as well, smiling up in the top right-hand corner for me. And so yeah, so we are the ELT workshop, and we run these little monthly sessions where we just it's just a nice excuse to have a chat. Really, we always say the vibe is like a staff room full of some of our favorite teachers on the internet. So yeah, and we just kind of it's nice. Especially these days when everything is so kind of up in the air, and I think a lot of people really wish they had the chance to talk to their co-workers and co-teachers and all of those things. So we try and have these monthly sessions. We didn't do it this month, but we usually try and have a kind of more you can just kind of sit down and listen, less of a hangout and maybe more of a workshop or a presentation session earlier on in the month as well, but we didn't do it this month. We took a break. So what we're going to do is we're joined by Sarah Priestley this month, and so in a little bit we're going to ask her what's going on with you these days. And yeah, it's just like the most kind of informal, laid-back professional development session you've probably ever been to. And after she's kind of told us what she has been thinking about these days, what's going on with her these days, then we'll just divide up into breakout rooms and have a chat. Feel free, stay as long as you can. All right, it's nice. We're gonna have a good time. But yeah, like if you need to nip off or anything, don't worry too much. That's fine as well. Is there anything I missed, Mike? Is that all?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So as a warm up, I always say this isn't really a warm up for you. It's more of a warm up for us than anything else. We're going to play a little game called workshopping, and this is Mike's ideation, and we've been iterating on it for a few months. So yeah, so I'm going to let Mike introduce this one.
We're going to let Mike do his best to explain this vague concept. So
I say let as if you need my permission or anything. You don't. That's,
So as we are the ELT workshop, this is workshopping. It's kind of like a game, except the rules are a little hazy. And there's no winners necessarily. There's no losers necessarily. Maybe we all lose. There's kind of no rules. But basically, we give the guest an idea, some sort of thing to come up with, and Tim, myself, and the guest will take turns sharing our responses to this. The first time we did it, it was puns about hip hop artists or something like this. And other times it's been puns. This time we decided to step away from the puns. Gracefully step away from puns, and our topic this time is New Year's resolutions, specifically teaching resolutions you should stick to but probably won't. But if Sarah or Tim are a little flexible on that, it will be okay. As I said, the rules are hazy. And so the idea is that it's workshopping. We're kind of workshopping the ideas that we share and kind of maybe give each other some gentle or not so gentle, if it's me to Tim, feedback on the ideas. So that's workshopping. That's the best explanation I can give of it.
Yeah, that's great. I'm very excited, nervous to be actually earnest for the first time, not just in workshopping, but just in general, for the first time in a long time. So yeah, and also feel free. I should have said before, I did miss something. We do have a little. You have a little texty chat. It's a little bit difficult to jump in sometimes when people are when people are talking in these. So it'd be really great if everyone could kind of, I'm always really curious about where people are joining from. I mean, I know where some of you are joining from, and some of you even got it in the name, but yeah, let us know where you're joining from. Please tell us our ideas, or not Sarah, but me and Mike, just really slate our ideas as much as you want. Be horrible about us. Be very nice to Sarah as a guest.
I'll just say that I didn't even know these rules before now, so I've just found out. Anyway.
That makes at least 3 of us.
Okay.
Also, to jump on to Tim's point there, if you have a much better idea than ours, you can throw that in the chat as well.
When, that's fine. All right. Okay. So, Mike, it's your game. Do you want to show us how it's done?
Okay. So the topic again is New Year's resolutions, teaching resolutions that you should stick to, but probably won't. I'll start with mine with no attempt to be funny. Often I'm teaching online, and I have 25 students 25 participants from around the world, teachers from around the world. And every term I decide I'm going to make a very detailed spreadsheet of all the interactions that I've had with them. There's already a class roster. And my resolution this year was to make a spreadsheet so I could chart all the interactions and all the random facts and all the stuff like that to keep myself organized and make it easier so I don't have to remember quickly when I'm responding to people. So that's my resolution that I have already not kept. I'm already failing. But maybe by mentioning it here, it will spur me to start the spreadsheet tomorrow.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I don't actually have any organizational ones, but I think there's a lot that could be there. So yeah, I don't know. It wasn't until I started doing my master's, and then I was kind of working and teaching at the same time. And I was like, oh my goodness, I really hate it when people don't remember that kind of stuff when I'm the student. And I was like, oh, maybe I should, actually vaguely model that in my own life in some way, shape, or form. So let's go. All right, okay. I have one which is asking for feedback from students regularly. So yeah, I just this is one of those I don't know if you ever go to a conference and you just get one idea that really just makes you go, oh yeah, of course, that's obviously something I should do all the time. And this is someone basically just said, oh, you should get feedback from your students before the final week of term when it's too late to do anything about it. And I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense, yeah. And I've when I've written these, I've kind of so that's the resolution. But the reason it's hard to follow, I think, is just it's sometimes really scary to get feedback from students. And whenever I do, I kind of I will look at all of the good pieces of feedback. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And then find that one horrible piece of feedback and just reminisce and then not sleep all night and things like that. So that's why I wouldn't follow that feedback, that resolution.
Tim, you've just stolen my first New Year resolution. No.
Oh, no.
So in fact, mine was, and I wrote down, was to maybe worry less about that one negative piece of feedback that you get from that class. Because I tend to overthink it, and it really, it just bothers me, I guess. And then I forget about all the positive feedback, and it's just dominated by that. And it could be a fair point. Absolutely. They've seen something that I didn't notice, but I tend to dwell on that too much. So that was very similar to yours, Tim.
Do you think that saying you're not going to dwell on it can help you not dwell on it?
It's easier said than done, isn't it? I mean, God, I've been doing it all my life. So let's see. We could check in a few months' time.
All right. I'm writing that down. I'm putting that in my spreadsheet.
I don't think that was an idea stealing. I think that we call that in the beers a transition. That was good. I like that. Yes. That's okay. So yes. All right. Mike.
My second one is about work-life balance. And it's something like no work after 9 p.m., 10 p.m., something like this.
I think you stole one of mine as well.
As I told you, Tim, mine are sort of cynical and
failure. Yeah, I think that's my third one, so I'm in trouble now. Okay, I'll try and find some way to do that. Okay, no, I think that's really important, right? That's why would you say that one's so hard to keep?
Especially with working online, it's like, oh, does somebody have a question? Is there 5 quick assignments I can score before bed? Whatever it is. So it's tough to just put it away, put the computer away, put everything away.
Yeah. Do you have students kind of message you? Because when I was working in China, like we have WeChat, which I guess is similar to WhatsApp, but like students will just message you on that at like 11 p.m. And
Wow.
yeah, I always tell them, like, if you message me after like 7, you won't get a response. But I have been known to work very late into the night at some point as well. So yeah. Okay. My resolution. This is well, I guess it's stolen from Mike, but he said it in a professional development session like 2 years ago, so I think I'm allowed to steal it. It's what the session is for. And this is another, yeah, it's like another conference idea, and it was in a session about, Michael, correct me when I'm wrong, or if I'm wrong, I should be more optimistic. But it's like only giving feedback to students when they come and ask for it. And this, I guess, is another kind of time-saving one. But yeah, I really think students, like sometimes it's kind of the norm that you get a bunch of work every week and you spend all your time grading it, and students, well, in my experience, often will just pick it up, look at the grade, and like ignore all the feedback which you actually care about. And so Mike's idea in this session, which I think was, I don't know how much of a throwaway idea or kind of a, oh yeah, like you might want to try this, it might be a good idea. This is, I became a huge advocate for this. So basically, if your students want feedback, they should come and ask you for it, or they should email you for it, or something like this. So you're only really giving feedback to students who want it. And I said basically, look, well, I have all these office hours. You guys never come to office hours. I'm paid to sit in a room for 4 hours. If you want feedback, come in with your work, and I will just talk it through with you. I know it's not like feasible for everyone, but yeah, it made office hours vaguely productive, and I wasn't giving feedback to a bunch of people who didn't really care about it. And I always find like written feedback, it's very sometimes the writing level of the feedback is higher than the writing level of the students, right? And it's very hard to explain, oh yeah, actually that's a transitive word in written feedback. You have to write a short essay explaining what all of those things mean, and then it just gets ignored. So it's much better if people come to you. So that's one I'm a big advocate for. And
Lucy says, normally I ask to send action points. Next time I will ...
Oh yeah, I think that's good actually. Yeah, I think make it a bit more kind of interactive and things. But yeah, I just I just think something like that is really important, because I think feedback sometimes it's just it ends up being busy work for like that doesn't like, I think you need to be doing something with it. And I think it's kind of a problem that it's the norm, especially when so many teachers are kind of paid by the hour and things as well. So yeah,
I think you got my idea mostly right, Tim.
Yeah, okay, thank you for the feedback there, Mike.
I think the flip side was also like, if you want to see your score, you have to respond to my feedback.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Something like this, like here's 5 lines about it, and then you have to, like Lucy says, or some other way, you have to ask a question or prove to me that you've read the feedback.
Yes.
Maybe 2 different angles on that.
Yeah.
Okay, my turn, I think.
Yeah.
Tim. So I guess, it's coming up for a year in Italy that we've been teaching online. And I think last year I really expected all students to have mics on, cameras on, pretty much all the time. And that was just because I'd never done any online teaching, and I just thought that was the norm, etc. And now I've realized that that's not always possible. There's a million reasons why. And so I'm trying to be more flexible with that and more understanding. And basically, I'll have half the students, they don't have their cameras on, and that's fine. And we just get on with it. So I'm being more flexible in that area, basically. Also with like homework, deadlines, and just being, because we're all tired, basically. And I think they are particularly tired. So that's my New Year resolution. I can see a couple of heads nodding. Maybe, it's that transition from a year ago to today, the reality, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because it's kind of, I think people don't really, like no one really had an idea of how this is supposed to go. And it was like, okay, we'll just go and do this thing. And then, yeah, I know
Just
there's
shift our regular class online,
yeah.
as we talked about previously.
Yeah, well, I feel so like I know some teachers are kind of expected like, okay, well, you can just teach online and in person at the same time. That won't be a problem for you, right? That's
You mean
that's something that's
hybrid?
kind of
Like
hybrid kind of
yes.
style, yeah, and that seems terrifying to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities there, but yeah, I think kind of what are the norms around it, and everyone definitely did kind of start off and getting super frustrated with their students, and like, oh, why don't they have their camera on all the time, and all of these things. But yeah, okay, yeah, Mike.
I guess we're back to me for my final one, which Sarah might appreciate, which I might be able to do, is make no photocopies.
Hi, good. It's in my Twitter bio. Yes, good. Nice. Any reason? Mike?
Seldom found by the photocopier, I believe.
Yes, well done. It's true. And what's the reason, Mike?
I mean, just environmentally, pedagogically. I mean, 9 times out of with Google Docs, you can get, and I'm talking face-to-face teaching here mostly. I feel like sometimes it's nice to hold a piece of paper in your hand, but mostly I can get around it.
Yeah, there are workarounds for sure.
And so, and it's just, it seems like it's just the norm to make a whole bunch of copies, but if you're thinking about trying to not do it, it's challenging, but not impossible.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think sometimes like kind of setting a limitation like that can be quite, I don't know, like it forces you to be creative.
Liberating,
right? Like people always talk, it's like that guy wrote a book without the letter E in it. And it was like, he had to force himself to be creative with like this restriction. And I think sometimes, yeah, it's it's like dogmas. Oh, if you're used to teaching with textbooks your whole life, it's like, oh, well, we're not going to do that for a little while. Like figure out what you can come up with. It forces you to be very creative as well. So I think that's good. That's an interesting.
Finally, a doable one too.
Yeah. And yeah, it does save a lot of paper, save the environment, I don't know, I've never had office with a good photocopier, so it saves a lot of I fixed the photocopier one time, and then I was the guy who knew how to fix photocopiers at my last job. So they're like, oh, Tim, can you come in? The photocopier's broken. I was like, I'm literally a language teacher, but sure, whatever. Okay, so my last one, I really should have come up with a backup this time, because I guess it's a little bit similar to what you said before, Sarah. But I just put no work on the weekends with an exclamation point at the end, which I don't know if that's a bit too much of a impossible dream. I've been doing no work on Sundays, and I think that's really important. And I did have this idea that this year Saturday would just be about cleaning the house and like making everything nice and just kind of taking care, and then Sunday would be a day for exercise. And I haven't kind of smushed both of those into my Sundays at the moment. But yeah, I just think it's so easy, especially with everything being online at the moment, for just work can kind of like just take over every single area of your life. And so, yeah, I don't really, the reason why this one's hard to follow is just there's too much work sometimes. And it's always like a very earnest, enthusiastic student will message you on Saturday, and you're like, oh, this is no problem for me to answer this. And then the next time it happens, you're like, oh, I don't want to be unfair to this student or whatever. So so that was, I guess that's kind of plagiarizing your idea, Sarah, but I think it's an important one anyway, so I don't mind saying it twice.
Plagiarized. Okay.
There's no rules. It's chaos.
There's no rules. It's fine.
Okay, and so my final one, which I don't really do that much of, but I'd like to do more, is to offer more choice to my students in the lessons, whether it's, here's 3 videos, go off and watch one of them, or, how do you want to present your research? Is it going to be like on a Jamboard, a little spoken presentation? I think that should be something that I do more of. I don't know whether anyone does that. I'd be really interested to hear how you actually manage it. If anyone does that, maybe later in the breakout rooms. That's something that I'll try and do this year.
Maybe doable as well.
I think so. I think so.
Not so cynical here at the.
Okay.
Yeah, that was remarkably honest. So I've just been looking through some of the comments we've had as well. We've had some really good comments there that we've not mentioned yet. So people are talking about out of hours emails, which I'll get back to you on on Monday or something like that. I think that's really good. Although, yeah, every time we send out an email, not so much for this, but when I was working on the conference and stuff, you send out an email to 200 people and you get like 20 auto replies to your personal email address every time that happens, and it's really frustrating. But apart from that, it's fine. So yeah, and people saying, oh, I have a friend in Korea who tells his students if they message after 10, he'll fail them, which seems very
Wow.
very strict. I know people always say these things. I don't. I know. And do you think this person would actually do this? I'm not sure, but I think it's possible sometimes to say things that aren't true. I do remember getting a text from a student or a message from a student after 10, and it was like, "Oh, teacher, like, what's the exam question?" Which is like information that's easily available online. But the exam was due at like midday the next day, and I just looked at this message. I just thought, nah, I just put my phone down and went to bed. And I always tell students this on the first day of term. I'm like, look, if you message me after 11, you're going to get into trouble because I'm not going to answer it till the next day. And I might forget about it the next day as well. So, yeah. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the meat and potatoes of the session. And so, so we're just going to ask Sarah what's going on with you these days. We think it's a nice kind of, like it doesn't make it too formal or too kind of whatever. So let's jump straight into that. So Sarah,
okay,
what's going on with you these days?
All right. Okay. So hi, everybody. Thanks for asking me, Tim and Mike. It's good to be on the other side, so to speak, this time. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is perfection. And I've been in ELT for more than 20 years. And I kind of hoped that by now my planning and prep would have got quicker and faster and better, and that I would have nailed it. But actually I seem to spend even more time planning and prepping and thinking about things. And, I suppose I wonder, am I overthinking and over planning my lessons? Trying to make things perfect, looking for that perfect video that fits in with the teenagers, something that links in with what we're doing, that they could understand, is authentic because they enjoy that. They like that feeling of having, understood something that's, authentic material, but at the same time, not too difficult, for example. Or, it's perfect images for the slides that I'm using, or the task, what kind of task can we do to bring the language together that they can get involved in? And so, before I know it, I'm down that rabbit hole on the internet. Half the morning has gone by and I'm still trying to find that bloody video. And I've got 5 more hours of lessons to prepare for that day. I teach about 5 hours online every day, more or less. It's a lot of prep. Some lessons are repeated, okay, so I can use the stuff, but it's a lot of time. And I suppose, the question is, is it worth it? Do my students even notice the video that I found? Is it worth it, I guess, the time and energy that I spent? I guess, I do notice if they are engaged and they get on with it, then I think, yes, of course, that was good. But it's that balance, it's that ratio, isn't it, of, time spent prepping versus, the time I'll be able to use it again, let's say, in the future. So I guess I want to know, when is good enough, really good enough when it comes to the prepping and planning? And, where do you, what criteria do you use to say, right, stop, that's it, come on, finish, get on, move on, do something different? And then, with the switch to online teaching, we've got Zoom fatigue, which is also a massive factor. My teenagers, especially the older ones, they've been studying online for almost a year. Apart from September and October, they've had nearly a year of online lessons in Italy. So that's 6 hours a day, roughly, lecture style. So there's no interaction, very little spoken, speaking opportunities. It's literally listen to the teacher. They may share slides. So they're absolutely exhausted. And the way that they study online in Italy is very much how they come to the class when they learn with me. Mics off, cameras off, and of course they do get on with things, and they're pretty good. they get involved. There's lots of speaking in the breakout rooms, but what I've noticed is that, you know, when we come back to the main session, there's this silence, this like wall of silence where I'm trying to get a bit of feedback together from them. You know, they're all happy they're all happy chatting in the breakout rooms, getting on with the tasks, I have to say. It's just this moment, which is fairly frequent when you know, in the real classroom, you know, you get some feedback, you can look around and say, so come on, tell me, you know, what did your partner say? Whereas online, you've got these, you know, 12, 13 little pictures, and it's just dead. And I was thinking, you know, is it me? Crikey, you know, God, was it just so awful what they were doing? They just don't want to share. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that it isn't me, but at least I hope not. I think it's more perhaps that situation where, you know, the dynamics of being online are different, afraid to interrupt each other. You just don't see those visual cues, do you, online? But, you know, I put in a lot of effort into preparing these lessons, and then it's all that kind of, oh, when we come together, it's a bit like cooking spinach. I was thinking the other day, you know, you go to the market or shop, come back with an IKEA bag full of spinach, you cook it, and then you've got about that much in your hand. And that's sometimes how I feel, you know, I've got all these great ideas, take it to the online classroom, bring them all back together. It's like, nobody really wants to talk or say anything together. Anyway, maybe that's me over worrying and overthinking. And I'm trying to maybe recreate, you know, those perfect Tefl gold lessons online. And I don't think that's always possible. So that's something that I think maybe I need to think about. My expectations, I guess, especially in those whole class moments. So that's one area. The other area that I was going to talk about is U-turns in ELT. So what I mean by that is when you've had this belief that you've held on to, maybe for a couple of years, you know, a lifetime perhaps, and then you know, you might read something, or you might see something, hear something, and then you change your mind, and you think the opposite. So, for example, I always thought in the early stages of my career that a noisy classroom was really the preferred mode for an ELT, you know, lesson. The more noise, the better. You know, lots of talking, movement. You know, find someone who this, mingle that, jigsaw away, running dictation. You know, a lot of noise, basically. And I'm not saying that noise is bad. Of course not. In the classroom, you want people speaking. Of course you do. But I don't know why, I just had this belief that, you know, a good lesson should be noisy, let's say. And then I was observing some primary lessons at some Italian schools, and the classes are bigger than what I'm used to. You know, there's 25 students in a classroom, and the noise at times was, you know, really loud. And it just made me realize, you know, as an observer, I was looking at the faces and just even, you know, trying to concentrate. It's quite difficult. And I was wondering, crikey, you know, what is it like in my classroom? You know, not everybody's comfortable with talking and sharing and this, you know, the extrovert kind of ideas that we have in ELT a lot of the time. And also, you know, the quieter students, they need space to think. Just because you're not the fastest one in the classroom who always interrupts and answers, what about, you know, the other students that are capable but are just quieter? So I sort of thought about it, did some work with some of the teachers, and also experimented in my own classrooms, and decided to build in some quiet moments, silence, a lot more than I'd previously done, and not to be afraid of that quiet time. I mean, there are moments when it can be awkward, a bit like when the teenagers online don't want to say anything. But I think when it's planned, it can be really effective and a good, you know, a good change of dynamics. So I guess that's a U-turn that I've made in my own teaching. And, you know, one of the questions that I've prepared for the breakout rooms is if you had a U-turn a bit like that, maybe something different, a teaching technique, I don't know, it could be correction codes that you hated them, and then perhaps you started using them and thought, you know, actually, they seem to work, can have a good focus. Okay, so that's it. That's what's on my mind at the moment.
Okay, super. I wanted to ask, so we do have some questions in the chat. If anyone has any other questions, you can always drop them now and we can ask them for you, or you can, like you can just unmute yourself and ask. But I wanted to ask a bit about, you're saying a lot about planning. I guess a resolution I've never been able to keep and always think it's a really good idea is to just kind of, to like just use stuff you used last year. I don't know why, it always just seems to like not happen as much as I'd like to just kind of, I just reuse this class, which is such a shame. I had one semester when I was able to just like essentially just run it back week 1 through 16.
Okay.
And I was teaching exactly the same class 5 times a week. So yeah,
right.
Really interesting.
And well, unfortunately, we've just changed our materials, and so they're all new materials for both the young learners and the adults. So that means not really. Although, like stuff like videos, of course, you can use certain parts. But and I do try to. But I guess it's also just like having, remembering everything that you've done. Basically, that doesn't. I don't have an Excel file like Mike, I'm afraid.
Mike doesn't have an Excel file like Mike either, so don't worry about it too much. That's
okay.
That's fine. Yeah, because I think that's one of the things. Like I find teachers do this so often. They're kind of like, oh, I'm going to spend so much time planning on this, so then next year I don't have to actually plan, and then they just do exactly the same thing the next year. So yeah, Rhiannon said one of my resolutions is to organize my resources better so I can reuse them. Yeah, I think that's well, if you figure out any ways, Rhiannon, to organize them, I think that would be a really good thing, because I just have like lots of folders that don't really make sense to anyone in another folder. So yeah, but I think that should be something, that's like one of those skills I guess we don't talk about enough, is kind of organizing your stuff so you can reuse it. Earlier on, Matthew was asking about how do you identify material that's going to be very engaging for students?
I guess, part of it is knowing your students, what they're into. And actually, it was quite interesting. One of my, we were doing music. That was the theme of the topic before Christmas. And one of the kids said, Sarah, can we listen to our music, please? Can we, take turns to, listen to a song that we like? I thought, that's a really good idea. And I didn't have time to do it. And then the next week, I kind of forgot. And he reminded me, he said, Sarah, can we do that? I said, absolutely. So in the chat, they all put in the name of their song, and we did an activity based on it. It was really cool. So sometimes, actually getting ideas from them is good. I suppose going on like experience of, what I've used in the past that worked well. And also, I think just basically in Italy, students don't have that much opportunity to speak English in their own lessons in Italian schools. So any kind of really basic, simple speaking task is really what they want and look for. So, it can be, we just did, it was design a concert. So for example, design a concert, in a charity concert, who you're going to invite, make a Jamboard with it, present it to everybody else, ask some questions, etc. That kind of task. So they've got an end product at the end that goes down pretty well. Okay. I think Neil is possibly suggesting that I take up smoking. I was just looking in the chat.
Oh, what? I missed that one. That's
there's
excellent pedagogical tool.
Yeah, he was saying about how when they were doing a task, the teacher would go outside for a cigarette. Is that right, Neil?
I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying this is what this guy did. In fact, it's the garden at Oxford that you've given a presentation in.
Okay, in Barcelona.
There are classrooms next to that with big glass windows. And he did a lot of exam prep classes. And so when students were doing a bit of writing task or even a speaking one, he would go outside and have a cigarette and monitor them from outside. And this is all very well, but then Catalan Telly did a documentary about the school,
right,
and focused on this teacher as being the big personality of the staff room, and followed him around. And the opening scene of the documentary that was eventually broadcast was exactly him observing his students from outside while smoking cigarettes. And the director was not very happy.
Yeah, might not be the best opening shot.
Yeah, so no, I'm not recommending that you take up smoking.
No. Okie doke.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
Okay. We should take this opportunity to come out as the first pro-smoking ELT publishing company today, Mike. That would be a big differentiator. I remember I've did some research about, I don't know if you guys know the Dogme forum. It's like this old now, I guess, forum. Just lots of teachers talking about teaching and stuff. There were a lot of posts in that, and there was people saying, "Oh, we went to these Catalan classes and it was okay, like it was a bit grammar heavy, and then like our teacher took us out to the pub afterwards, and it was like everything I wanted in a class." So yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know if it's good to take your students out to the pub. It depends on the situation, I guess. But yeah, I think stuff like that, you know, you can create, you can kind of create a more, I don't know, a more, yeah, like relaxed classroom by kind of breaking that mold. And we were talking about like, oh, just heading out of the class and go for a smoke, or, you know, doing something like that. Just break the mold, kind of shock them.
Yeah.
Shock them a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Just brain breaks. I mean, you know, because you can have like 2-hour lesson online and they've already had 5 hours in the morning. So that was another New Year resolution I didn't mention, but you know, trying to sort of have these 5-minute short bursts where it's not necessarily, you know, connected to what we do, but just to switch off for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think that makes a lot of sense. We always used to have like the little 10-minute break or 5-minute break in the middle of 10 minutes because it was but yes, I knew some teachers were just like, oh well, I will just give them, like, we'll just work through the break and I'll let them go 10 minutes early. I was like, no, you can't, like that's like, you can't, if you ask me to do anything for an hour and like 40 minutes just straight through, I won't be able to do it. And I don't expect students to do it either. Has anyone else got
time to breakout rooms?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We call a segue in the business.
So, yep. I'm so professional. Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah. So I have all the breakout rooms set up. So Sarah, if you have some questions to get everyone to chat about, and if you can if you just put them in the chat now, and. Yeah, because if we put them in after people have left, not everyone will see them.
Okay, so, should be there, everybody.
Yeah, so everyone. So we have some. We have some questions there, and I will just send you off. Actually, give me a sec. I've got 3 breakout rooms. Does that sound about right? We've got 22 people, which is not something I'm used to. So it's 3 breakout rooms. 4?
4 maybe. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, give me a second.
Rhiannon said. Suggested 4.
Oh, I keep missing things in the chat. Okay, yeah, all right, let's go with 4 breakout rooms. All right, so I'm going to send you all off. There's not really much of a plenary anyway to finish up, just like chat as much as you want. If you get to the end of your chat, if everyone else disappears and you're still around and you want to like be moved to another room, I think you should be able to like DM me and I can probably just put you in another room with people who are still chatting. So yeah, I hope you have fun. Do invite people if you have had fun, or even if you haven't, invite them anyway. That's fine. And we'll just be chatting in rooms for as long as you have time. And
Tim, do we come back at the end, or we can just zoom off?
No, just head off whenever you want. But if if everyone else heads off and you don't want to go and face the real world anymore, you can ask me and I will put you in another room if there's still one going. So yes.
All right.
Okay. See you all soon.
Okay.